somewhat of a genius when it comes to movie making.
Yeah, we'll do some more movie reviews this year. Me and him both movie TV buffs or whatever, that's like my outlet is binging something, watching something good or whatnot. But go ahead. What you got? Well,
Antoine Fuqua.
Oh, that's who did that?
Yes.
What are we talking about?
Just made a movie that I know a lot of people may feel some way about. I watched it though. And it stars a controversial actor who put his hands on somebody earlier this year. What the people call the slap heard round the world. Speaking of Will Smith, the name of the movie is Emancipation. Now, BK, I went into this movie. The Apple TV. Okay, what is Apple TV gonna do? What is Apple TV Plus?
Well, we know it's gonna be in like 5K.
Right. You know it's gonna look good.
Apple will always be crisp.
It's gonna look good. But going into it, I I let that stuff go with the whole Chris Rock thing because I never was really one that was like, oh my God, woe is me. Will Smith's life is over. His career's over. He slapped Chris Rock. I really didn't give a damn because I still think the shit was staged. Still to this day, I still think it was staged. Because there ain't no man gonna rock all the way back, get his momentum lined up, and you still stand there. All right, here it comes. Let me prepare myself. Me and Will worked on this backstage before the show. Bam! And I'm gonna take it like a G. And then we gonna let him cuss and rant and rave and blah, 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 and let everybody get whatever. Will Smith is about to be nominated for another Oscar next year, people. You heard what I just said. Will Smith is about to be nominated for another Oscar after his performance in this movie Emancipation, directed by Antoine Fuqua, which was a cinematographic wonderment of movie experience watching.
You think so?
Yes.
It was good. I don't think it was great. It was good.
Cinematographic.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Now
it looked fantastic.
It was no spoilers for who hadn't seen it. Well, I don't know. Spoiler alert. It was kind of dark.
Well, he did that on purpose.
I know. No, I'm not saying that it was an accident, but I'm just saying for my taste, it was a little dark. But I think the only reason why they did that is because they were trying to make him appear to be a dark-skinned man. They don't want to show how light he was, because if you remember at the very end, he actually one of the guys that was in the Northern Army made a comment and said, "Man, I used to always be joking and telling everybody I was the blackest thing walking in America."
Yeah.
And then he said, "Until I seen you," he said, "You got me beat."
Yeah.
You know, we talking about Will Smith now. Come on, you know he ain't the blackest man in America. Come on now. I mean, you about 2 shades lighter than Will Smith.
True.
See, so right there,
true.
so that tells you, I think the reason why he made it dark like that, because, which also says, like, is he the only person that you could find to play the slave Gordon,
Right.
Or what his real name was, Peter?
No, his real name was Gordon. In the movie, his name was Peter. The guy's name in real life was Gordon.
Yeah.
You had it right.
Yeah, the slave Gordon.
But in the movie, his name was Peter.
Okay. And so I'm saying it's like all these great actors, especially these British actors.
Mm-hmm.
You telling me you couldn't find nobody to play that, so you had to find and I know it doesn't matter. It's about the acting, but I'm just saying we're talking about casting here. So you're saying, so you tint the movie to make him appear to be, because he did.
I don't think that's why he did it though.
But I'm just saying.
I don't think that's why he.
Why would he make a comment like that? That come on, like, because would you really say that to somebody of his complexion? That I thought I was the darkest person in America.
I think right there, maybe that was an editing problem. Somebody should have cut that out the movie. Maybe that's what that was.
I think because they made it dark like that because they had to make him look.
But
the
real life man wasn't black like that.
Yes, he was.
He wasn't even as dark as you.
Yes, he was.
No, I've looked at that picture a gazillion times.
Man, I'm not. This is the only thing. This is not a shot at what I'm about to say. This is not a shot at anybody. But he was dark skinned because guess where did he originate from?
Africa,
Haiti.
Was it Haiti?
Yes.
Okay.
He was Haitian.
Okay.
And if you ever seen most of the Haitians, I mean, they look like me, and they're almost direct descendants from that slave trade. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like I think they hit that first.
That's right, because they were speaking French.
Yeah,
and yeah.
Because in the beginning, I kept wondering like, this is a bad accent. Will Smith, try again, because I thought he was trying to do an African accent, and I'm like, you don't sound African,
right?
But then I realized that. I started paying attention to the history and what they were talking about. They was in Louisiana, Baton Rouge. So, and they also from Haiti. Once again, that's how that dialect got to New Orleans.
Right, that whole French.
Yeah, because if you notice, all those slaves were speaking. They were speaking French. They could speak French, and they had a French accent.
Right,
with a like African / French
right
dialogue or whatever. So that made sense. So I had to take that back and say, okay, it's not a bad accent. It was actually a good accent. That you're supposed to be a French African, or however you want to say it.
Right.
I know there's some deep African scholars that will really, try to debate that I didn't say that correctly.
Well, I'm just saying, I get what you're saying about the darkness of the person who was supposed to be playing it, because we have gotten, I could count numerous, hundreds of movies where they got the casting just completely all off.
Yeah.
I mean, just not even close to what it should have been. But the other reason was because he wanted it to be crisp.
Yeah.
He wanted it to be so crisp, and he wanted everyone to be taken aback when they saw what happened, because you got to think about some of the scenes that did have color in them, where he would splash it in there. It would pop.
I would notice that.
It would pop so much, and it brought you back into the movie, because it's like, oh, snap, I forgot this is like in black and white. But then there's color, like when there would be fire. You would see the fire. When you would see the bullets, you would see the fire from the bullets and stuff like that. Like when the cannons and stuff were going off. You saw all that stuff was in color. They would give you bits and pieces of that color palette, but he wanted that because he wanted it to be crisp. And that's why they went and chose Apple, like you said, that 5K.
Yeah, that probably had a lot to do with it. But also they probably the ones that wanted to buy it. They had to sell it to somebody.
Well, because they got pushed back.
Well, let me ask you this. Are you tired of slave movies? And let me ask you this, for anybody who's listening, you leave, drop a comment and let me know. Are you tired of slave movies?
Right.
What's your opinion on that?
I think I wrote down a quote the other day.
I kind of am. I'm kind of like
I am too.
Kind of moved on.
I wrote down a quote the other day. I heard this, and somebody asked this question. They said, "As a community, aren't you tired of the movies representing us during our worst time in the history of the world are always made to be Oscar worthy,
instead of a movie of us doing good and on the come up, or already on the come up,
and being Oscar worthy?"
Yeah. 12 Years a Slave.
Oscar.
Glory.
Oscar. Django. Oscar.
What did Harriet get? It probably was Oscar nominated.
It probably got nominated. Birth of a Nation with your boy.
Yeah.
Nominated.
Nominated. Yeah.
I mean, every slave movie is just like, it's finally like, that's the one movie where the other communities besides the black community sit back and say, you know what? That boy played a damn good job of being a slave in that damn movie right there. You know what I'm saying? It's like, no, dude. Or it's like, boy, that boy they got to be that slave owner. He sure did a goddamn good job.
He won an Oscar for that role.
He won an Oscar. That boy,
I almost believed it.
I almost believed it. He said that damn N-word like it wasn't nothing, boy.
Yeah. Roll right off his tongue.
But I'm just saying, it's.
Yeah, I'm kind of.
I think that's like the last, because I wasn't gonna watch it.
Yeah,
I literally wasn't, and then
I only watched it because you mentioned it. I didn't even know it was out. You mentioned it, and I was like, okay, let me go and watch it. Came out Friday.
Right, and I didn't know, because I got it early, and I didn't even know it was already out, because I just happened to be. I watched it 2 days before you, and I was like, oh, this is already out on cinema. And I watched it, and then I realized, I was like, damn, this don't even come out till Friday. But I was like, yo, it wasn't. I think the difference in this one was the other slave movies, we see their journey and we see them make it out and blah, blah, blah. You know, they finally make it and reunite with their family, hugs and all that. This actually had significant historical.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and show the picture. Let's show that picture. So this classic picture is representation. This is the story behind the movie Emancipation. But I'm not saying that I 100% am sick of it. I'm a little overwhelmed and kind of like ready to move on to something else. Now I get why we keep making them, because there's so many stories to be told. Right. So I don't want to knock the history. The stories need to be told, but it seems like that's like you said, the bulk of our
Oscar bait.
Oscar bait. It's the bulk of what we actually get accepted for. All the other great movies just fly under the radar.
Right.
But you do a good slave movie.
And a similar movie, which I watched a little bit, The Woman King, which was very controversial.
Yeah, I watched that one.
But once again, that movie was I put it along those lines of that type of black movie that still dealt with slavery. You know, as that was the whole big what they call the MacGuffin. Still, I think I'm tired of seeing, like you said, the Oscar bait black films that only come out this time of year so they can make it, and it's about slavery. But I don't know. It's like you said, there are so many more stories to tell because the 12 Years a Slave story, that was a story that need to be told. You know, a lot of people don't know about that. Birth of a Nation, even though me and you growing up, we knew who he was. We knew about that whole thing. This movie, I didn't know there was all I knew was they took that picture so they could show the world what slavery looked like, what chattel slavery looked like in 1863, when that battle was going on. So, in that aspect of it, I respect the movie for what it was doing, for what it was trying to do. Give us another story. Give us the history of that picture that woke up the world. Basically, that's what it was. But all in all,
it kind of really didn't though.
Yeah, no. Because after that, you just
slavery continued after that in some places, and
then we just went to Jim, not even before Jim Crow,
sharecropping,
but it was called Reconstruction.
Yeah, and then Reconstruction was robbed. I let my son watch it, you know, but I did explain to some things. We've been watching a lot of history stuff, or whatever, lately, but I was explaining to him that so you see how this feeling, how they feel that they're excited about when the troops came in and told them like, y'all can bounce. Yeah, you're free. Y'all free. They were like, free? What are you talking about?
What does that even mean?
Yeah, what are you talking about? I said, so imagine how they felt because they found out on time. I said, so now this is the significance of Juneteenth. So imagine these people in Texas that found out 2 years after this. So imagine being enslaved for 2 more years because the troops didn't, the troops got there a little bit later, whatever, or of course, the masters are not going to snitch on themselves and like, no, they're going to keep getting paid.
I need that money.
Yeah.
Yeah. You might not about to take away my cash, limit my cash crop.
But what's funny is, like me and my dad were just talking about how problematic it is and the power of manipulation and indoctrination of a certain way of doing things. I can't think of the name. I kept trying to think of the syndrome it's called. Like when you capture somebody and and you keep them captured so long, you kind of like start
you flip them.
They like you now. So, and the sad part is a lot of those slaves, you know what I mean, didn't even want to leave because like I love my master, like I love it here, like and plus didn't have the resources or the money to leave, owed a debt or
Stockholm syndrome. Yeah.
So that's a whole nother conversation on the generational push of Stockholm syndrome because passing stuff down is hereditary. Like it's serious. That's why people always like, you got to break the chains. You got to break the cycle. And you got to understand when we having these discussions like with white folks or whatever, like, well, why y'all still like this? Slavery was a long time ago. Like, no, you don't understand the association with generational curses.
Right. And the psychological
effect if you don't break it, this stuff gets passed down.
Exactly.
But anyways, that's a whole nother podcast, a whole nother conversation. So